Mamma mia. All right, guys, welcome to Mudrow. Yes, I'm doing the second show for the weekend because there is so much to catch up on in regard to this Ukrainian offensive that was supposed to drive the Russians back into the sea, which that did not happen. But remember to go over and join the Discord. I keep wanting to promote the Discord channel because I'm really proud of the guys over there and the work that they do. And I really think that you will find the information you want there that I am unable to bring to you on a regular basis. So, what we are going to talk about first is about the Duke-off, the fight, the main event going on in Ukraine. So let's move over and put myself down in, all right, so we're going to start with this old story back from May 12th, 2022. Russia is, from the Business Insider, Russia is resorting to putting computer chips from dishwashers and refrigerators in tanks due to U.S. sanctions, officials say. Remember that whole hogwash over here? It's from PC Magazine. Russia is using chips from dishwashers to fix its tanks. Oh, Russia. There were other. And y'all remember this cow? Oh, the president, I believe that's her title, of the European Union. Let's hear what she has to say.
The Russian military is taking chips from dishwashers and refrigerators to fix their military hardware because there are no semiconductors anymore. Russia's industry is in tatters.
Well, that didn't turn out too good, but you and I and many other conspiracy theorists, people who doubt the government, who don't believe the Pentagon, our own White House, or cows like this, we looked at the basic facts and go, this is hogwash. And what were we? We were accused as believing in propaganda, being sheeple, being conspiracy theorists, for questioning our trusted public officials in what they were telling us. Well, obviously, I, the conspiracy theorist, was correct on this subject also. But I rather take the bullet on this one and say that you're right. That Russia is using washing machine, blender parts, and chips out of home appliances to power the Russian war machine. And I have a demonstration for you. Let's take a look at that right now. All right, fellas. Right. Well, we have here in this corner, we have washing machine weighing in at about 180 pounds. Washing machine was looted from an apartment complex in Mariupol and was refurbished. Its parts were taken and put it in unmanned aerial flying bombs. And who was washing machine taking on? Who are they going to fight? They are going to fight Leopard tank. In the Ukrainian corner, we have a German-provided Leopard tank weighing in at, holy moly, I have no idea, because you know it's heavy. But they are going to take it up. They are going to duke it out. They are going to go boom and kaboom and kaboom. So let's let's take a look at washing machine in the form of a Lancet drone. It has been reborn as an instrument of death. Take on the hailed as a great Western tank, the alleged Leopard. You want some? You want some? And washing machine brings it home to Leopard tank. So here it comes. Oh, boom! That's all she wrote for Leopard tank. Okay, guys, I'm just trying to have some fun here. But let's take a look at an analysis of the Leopard tank versus the Lancet drone. The 20,000-year-old drone, which would be, I believe, right here, this Lancet drone, alleged also, destroys a Leopard tank worth 7 million euros. Russia sure knows how to make washing machine parts go a long way. So you can either still keep believing what a year ago was being told, that the Russian economy was hurting, that they didn't have chips, that they couldn't sustain the war. Of course, it's my new theme lately. I, the conspiracy theorist, told you that all of that All of that official narrative being told to you by the mainstream media, by the Pentagon, by the White House, by the European Union, by NATO, all of that information that was being told to you by people that you should believe in and trust and that should not lie to you, I told you over a year ago it was lies. And I was called what? For doubting the official narrative and for providing another theory? I was called a conspiracy theorist. How is it that time and time again, a freaking idiot like me can be right? The Russian economy, I told you, back in 2022 was not hurting. It was thriving. It was booming. The sanctions backfired. I've said it over and over. The sanctions are hurting Europe and the United States more. Russia is not in economic turmoil, regardless of how often you hear your trusted Western officials tell you that. It is a bunch of malarkey bull crap. All right? So you can either believe me or you can believe your narrative that washing machine parts and these drones are taking out $7 million tanks. Which, hey, I'm okay with that because that allows me to mock you even more. Mock. Let's move on. Let's move on to some battlefront news that I have for you that I've been trying to catch up on. All right, so look at the front line. The Ukrainians on their offensive had launched attacks all over the front line. But it isn't spread out like butter. They are doing piercing attacks. So the Ukrainians are making some advances. They have suffered heavy casualties. They have lost, reports are complete brigades, as I told you yesterday. But all in all, they have not made any deep penetrations. They have, unfortunately, been able to capture a few settlements or villages here and there. And if you go over to Twitter and some of the other forums, the Ukrainians are making a big to-do over every little village they capture. This is not the offensive that Ukraine wanted. Ukraine didn't want another spread out Bakhmut, a battle of attrition where now they're fighting tooth and nail for every little village. There are reports I've read, I believe even the Magadunk had told me that the Ukrainians have massive reserves waiting to jump in. Well, it's been a week. This offensive isn't going anywhere, and the Ukrainians have found themselves fighting for just villages at a time, and they are paying deeply for it. I saw this post, and let's look at yesterday on June 10th during the next assault on the Venivik ledger. Russia units had to withdraw from Neskunoye. Over on Twitter, the pro-Ukrainians, big old deal that they took this little village, this little settlement, and I get discouraged at over every little thing. I'm like, oh no. Now I know it wasn't a major advance. They didn't take a big city or a very well entrenched area. The Ukrainians managed to take one little town, but that was short lived because today I saw this. Now, I was worried about that village that the Ukrainians took, but according to Savangard, good channel over on Telegram, the Russians retook it. The Russian armed forces drove the Banderas, which is the Ukrainians, out of the village of Neskunoye and regained control of it. The enemy is trying to evacuate its wounded. Our aircraft are working. The aircraft is working them up, lighting them up. I think if they're trying to evacuate their wounded, let them take them. Allegedly, they'll get organ harvested later. I'm so mean. There was another attempted advance in another direction. They pretty much got lit up there too. The armed forces of Ukraine withdrew with losses, judging by the ratio intercepts: 8 to 200 dead, 11 to 300 wounded. I believe that's the ratio. That means the Russians lost 8 men to 200 Ukrainians and 11 to 300 wounded. Again, I tell you, I continue to estimate personally, just from looking at numbers like this, I think that the Ukrainian total casualties, dead and wounded, is really closer to 1 million. Now, this is from Julian Ropchek. He is I believe, a German journalist, extremely pro-Ukrainian. But Julian here is beginning to see the truth, and he's pretty much starting to report that this is over. This war is over. Julian, I think you're wrong. I do think if it was left the way it is, the war is over. But defeating Russia is so important for the West, for Western hegemony, for their wet lizard dream of a new world order, that this war can escalate. This war could become nuclear. I've heard two commentators already, nationally known commentators, much more respected than I, who are saying this war could actually escalate, and that we are closer to a nuclear war or to a war between Russia and the West than we were before. Because Ukraine is doing so badly, the West may actually jump in and take it on with Russia. But the Ukrainian Territorial Defense Force, Julian, if you were thinking for a good time to remove the Ukrainian flag from your profile, now is the right moment. You've hit the bottom. No need to go deeper. So the Ukrainian pro-Ukrainians, the Ukrainian Territorial Defense Force, all of these people, they're mad at Julian because he's beginning to see the truth and tell the truth that pretty much the war is over. So I guess what is part of the problem that Julian is doing right here? Since the start of the counteroffensive on Monday, June 5th, Ukraine liberated up to 22 square miles. 22 square miles southeast of, I can't say the name. These gains are visually confirmed. It's a failure. but pro-Ukrainians, they grab onto this and they want to make it a major victory. These 22 square miles have cost allegedly thousands upon thousands of Ukrainian lives and just untold equipment that they have lost for 22 square miles. This is in one spot, a few more places here and there. All in all, the counteroffensive has been a failure, and the reason the pro-Ukrainians are turning on themselves is because Julian here, he keeps revealing the truth. And Julian here, remember, this guy is a major pro-Ukrainian, but he gets in trouble because he leaks out the truth. Should be counteroffensive instead of against the offensive, but I guess you'll understand. And over here there's one commenter. It should be offensive if you really want to be correct. What he's trying to say is the counteroffensive has failed. The counteroffensive has amounted to a defensive line against the offensive, against the Russian offensive. This is the way I am taking it. This other guy is over here kind of also criticizing it, that it should be an offensive. It shouldn't be a counteroffensive. All of this, if you use your mind, little critical thinking, he's basically saying this ain't going well. This is not going well at all. The counteroffensive has basically turned into a stiffer resistance against the Russian, a defensive. Against the offensive is a defensive. Okay, that's what the counteroffensive has turned into. And because he continues as a pro-Ukrainian, a quite prominent pro-Ukrainian, to tell the truth, that the situation is quite dire for the Ukrainians. He is getting assaulted, verbally assaulted online. Let's take a listen to this BBC report right here.
We can get a sense of an advance that's taken place around Zaporizhia. Stills from drone footage released by the Russians this week show pieces of equipment associated with Ukraine's Western-trained reserve brigades being fed into that battle. French heavy armoured cars,
remember, BBC is extremely pro-Ukrainian,
apparently abandoned earlier this week. And overnight, moving pictures emerged of Leopard 2 tanks, among the most precious of those Western weapons deliveries in action on that key axis.
Getting kaboomed. He leaves that part out. In action. He says. So he admits the Leopard 2 tanks are in action. Right? But he leaves this out. Let's look at the action.
Tanks, among the most precious of those Western weapons deliveries in action on that key axis.
There we are. In action. Oh my God. The truth is right in front of you and you don't want to see it. You just want to keep believing the lies. And the truth is, Ukrainians are getting their ass whooped. They're getting their ass handed to them. They cannot compete with the real army. And then you got to understand, like I've told you before, this is not the real Russian army. These are the reservists. The 1.2 million man Russian army is not fighting in Ukraine. You all know this, that 300,000 plus another 80,000, I heard, volunteers, call-ups. This happened a few months back. Russia called up new reserves, people that had been out of the military to come fight in Ukraine. Till then, it was the Chechens, the Wagners, and some province, DPR and LPR troops, and some Russian troops at that. The bulk of the Russian army, the professionally trained Russian army, those pretty boy, pimple-faced 18 to 26-year-old soldiers you see on Victory Day in Moscow Square or in Red Square, you rarely see those troops in Ukraine because they're not in Ukraine. The top-notch, over 1 million Russian troops are not in Ukraine, and that is what scares to death the Western governments. That the B team, the bench warmers, are whooping Ukraine's butt with the best equipment the West has to offer. Should Russia actually go to war with the West would have to face the Russian army. And I showed you the one congressional. Oh, let me see if I can dig that up for you. And I have played this before. This is General Cavoli from the Armed Services Committee meeting at the United States Senate. This is as official as you can get. Of course, for those people who want to call me a conspiracy theorist for using the truth and for using authorized sources to prove my point, I don't know what to tell you anymore. You can continue to believe the lies, but the truth is out there. You just have to dig for it. Now, let's just look at this again. I played it before in another video.
First of all, sir, if I could, I'd like to underline your comment about the specificity of the degradation of the Russian forces. Much of the Russian military has not been affected negatively by this conflict. One of those forces is their undersea forces. It's hard to talk in public, as you well know, sir, about undersea warfare and our efforts in.
So he's good. He gets into that. But much of the Russian forces have not been degraded. And of course, because the submarine forces aren't engaged on land, they really haven't been touched. But this is where the truth slips by people. He said it at the beginning. Much of the Russian forces have not been degraded. Some of them have because they're fighting a war. But Russia is quite strong and quite capable of taking on Ukraine and the regular Russian military, which is still out there. I have another clip where that kind of is alluded to, that Russia is much stronger than we on the surface common people believe. Anyways, that is today's show. Let me see if I can get something fun to you to finish up the episode. Thank you for watching me again. This was mostly a single subject episode, but oh, what the heck, right? Well, I don't know if this is feel good or let's just take a look at this because I'm just I don't know what to think about this guy. That is the former Vice President of the United States. And he sees this lady holding the baby, and he wants to go over there, and I hope he doesn't want to consume it. But we all know how Joe Biden is around children. But look at the way he moves. Look at this guy. What a joke. Do you really think he's calling the shots? Do you really think he's running the nation? No, he's not. I don't know what to tell people. You're a bunch of idiots if you voted for this guy, all right? You're freaking idiots. Yes, Trump was much better than him. Much better. I think there's an FBI thing. I don't get what's going on. I'm going to touch on this really quick. We'll let you go. But I don't know how criminals like George W. Bush, Obama, this guy, Dick Cheney, can get away with real war crimes. And then they're over there nagging Trump over some document bull crap. And then this guy, an FBI report came out that the Hunter thing about Biden, the Bidens receiving, I think, allegedly up to 10 million. I got to say alleged for the YouTube. You're on Odyssey. You can ignore whenever I say that. But allegedly receiving $10 million in bribes. But people want to hear what they want to hear, and they don't want to hear what they don't. Look at me. I'm a conservative. I used to be a registered Republican, and I now admit the fact that George W. Bush, that the Bushes are a bunch of crooks, right? One of the hardest things for people to do is to admit they're wrong, because you do not want to believe that you were played the fool, that you were a fool, and that you're not as smart as you think you were or are. You know, I had to struggle with my wrong concepts and my wrong ideas. When the truth finally started clicking in my head, I didn't want to accept it, because to accept it meant that I had been fooled, that I wasn't as sharp or as smart as I thought. And that is the mistake really bright people make. Is you can't imagine that you've been played the idiot. You can't imagine that you are an idiot. See, I accept right now that I'm an idiot, right? And knowing that I'm not that smart, because then that means that I have to look into things. I think I'm bright, I really do, but I don't think I'm so bright that I don't make mistakes, that I don't come to wrong conclusions. I don't think that I'm so smart that I don't have to look into things and research them and analyze them and weigh them and listen to counterpoints. Know what I mean? But some of you got your intelligence and your ego mixed up together, and when the truth is right in front of you, your ego will just not let you see it. This guy is a doofus. And if you can't see that, is it over here? Vlad, you keep writing that bozo. Later.